Hello and welcome along to another episode and another season review from this FM22 One Club story with Hemel Hempstead Town with me, Daniel. We're back today for the end of Season 8 review, our first season in the Championship after a rare back-to-back promotions. And for those of you that were following all year, you'll know it started unbelievably. The momentum carried us through, and at the halfway point, we actually asked if the game was too easy. The game then got us back by defeating us 9-0 in the FA Cup and sending us on a spiralling poor run of form up until the end of the season. But we still finished 9th, a placement I would have been utterly delighted with at the start of the season, and we now get the chance to rebuild for next year, but not in an entirely positive mood. We ended the season with the fans criticising our tactics at the end of the last episode because we hadn't won for 7 league games. I mean, we're 9th in the Championship, come on. There's also 2 key players potentially forcing their way out, not willing to sign new deals or only willing to sign them with very low release clauses. So there's going to be a lot of work to do. In our usual end of season review today, we're going to have a little look at what we plan to do with the squad this summer, where we want to build for next year and what areas of the club we'd like to improve. We've also had a potential talk of takeover in the last few days in the media, so I'm a little worried about whether we're going to be able to do our business or not. If you want to find out and stay up to date, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe down below for daily FM22 content. You can find the playlist to the other story, The Head Coach in the Eye above, as well as our little guide series with tips and tutorials. That's FM Insight up there too. And then the Twitch channel for regular live streams, the football podcast and the food channel. Your support with all of them is greatly appreciated. So thank you as always for checking them out. But today, we want to start with our usual season review. So we've got to the end of the season. We're back exactly where we finished off the last time. We're going to skip through to tomorrow morning and see what else is made of our season with Hemel Hempstead. Because hopefully, there's going to be some positives to come. Right then, back for a Sunday morning review. No trophies, but of course still a massive success to survive in a Championship. Let's take a look first at the new arrivals, because one of the things we're going to be judged on at this level is recruitment. We haven't got the budget of some of the other sides, we haven't got the quality of some of the other sides. So we've got to recruit well, we've got to make sure we're signing and selling the right players. And as you can see there, most of the ones we've signed are in a younger category that will have a sell-on fee and potential to. But in terms of the ones that did join this year, we had Rodell Richards, who did really well. We are going to keep him next season. He's agreed to join for 140,000, which was his optional fee after the loan spell. Kamari Doyle came in for 290 grand overall. He's met his appearance clause already, and he's done really well too. With Leon Bullock, one of those looking to force his way out in the summer, could Doyle become a star next year? Could he take over? We got Stutter in a January window, always hard to settle in there, but did very well. He got his 4th goal of the season on the final day, and hopefully will be a good partner for Ricky next year. Alby Armin, revelation at left back, really good signing. Thornhill started the season well, but Armin's now improving. He's 25 years of age, and I could see him easily being first choice next year. Max Taylor, an experienced one, we needed that in the back line. He's actually improving physically at 29, which I find quite impressive too. And Adam Doyle, a slightly younger one at the back for 90 grand, but again, doing a pretty solid job, and he has got a big future in the game. The other ones, more sort of gambles or youth players. We want Mateus in January. He could be first choice next year if Bennett Sharif forces his way out. Jason Ferris maybe didn't work out. This year was more about retraining position for him. So I think we might loan him out next year and ask him to be a centre mid wherever he goes. If we do that, maybe he'll become a Championship player. I'd like to upgrade in that position. David Kelly, you'll remember, deadline day last August. I was really excited about this one. It just didn't work out. I don't know what it was. He didn't adapt. He didn't improve. And whenever he played, he looked really poor. So, one rare dud for us, it's got to be said. And then for 30 grand in January, we got Hubert Grashik as a backup keeper. And if we go well next year, if we get a replacement for G-Cock, he'll probably be our number 3. But all of the ones that came in, certainly for a fee at least, if we look at the top 5 or 6, they made an impact. They were key players in the first team. They've all played lots of football. I'm really pleased with that. I think that's good business. In terms of the outs, just to remind you how far we've stepped up, we've got the likes of Tristan Nydam, Priestley Farcarson, Will Swan, who we debated selling, the likes of Mauro Bandera, McGinley had been involved in the first team, Hornby and Carson too. We really have upgraded, and we're going to have to do that again this summer because there are 5 or 6 more who maybe aren't ready to make that big Championship step up, and they're difficult goodbyes, but we probably have to say them now. The loans out, a few of these may come back to be involved because we've got the likes of Daniel Senior at Yeovil, who's looking a really good young player now. The likes of Adam Wade did well there too. Stuart Parry, Bilal Jesus Garcia, a few of the other youngsters we signed last summer, and Josh Berry as well, becoming a really good little player now. So there is a chance that next year, rather than signing a lot of players, we can finally start to develop some of these youngsters. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that across the board, because there are some areas where I feel we need experience or quality, but I'd certainly like to get 2 or 3 of these involved and gradually work them in towards the team. So we'll see how that plays out. In terms of season results, we had to fight bravely against relegation. Initially, when we got promoted, they said we had to avoid relegation. But either way, we've done it at a canter. A brilliant effort. Thankfully, it was a low points total anyway, but we were more looking up towards the end of the year. A 9th place finish despite a slide is very good. What I want to avoid is what happened with my club, Luton Town, in real life. They had a first season back in 05-06 where they flew. They were top. They finished about here just as we did this season. And the season after, relegated, followed by lots of financial trouble. We're at the same stadium, Kenilworth Road, so we'll try our best to avoid it. Ricky J. Jones has again stepped up to the next level. This year, though, more injury worries. Another one picked up on the last day of the season. How many can he manage at 26-27? Do we have to look for a longer term replacement? That's what we've got to question. The FA Cup, I know it was a hammering. It was probably the big turner of our form, a 9-0 defeat against Liverpool. But the truth be told, we got over £1 million in gate receipts for that game, and that was enough for us. It's going to hopefully fund a training facilities upgrade, and if it does that, it served its purpose. In the League Cup, we went on a fabulous run. Bar Swansea, we had a pretty lucky draw, to be honest, and even Birmingham, who we lost to. They are a championship side, aren't they? Finished 2 places above us. So if it wasn't for that, we could have had potentially a semi-final. But it wasn't to be. A nice little run to have anyway. Whether we reach the top or not in this save, I don't know yet. But I really want to win something. And the League Cup, probably a good opportunity to do that. In terms of moments to remember, we had a 5-1 big win at home to Cardiff. That was our first home game of the season, wasn't it? Do you remember? We beat them and then we beat Hull 4-0, I think. And at that point, I just asked what was going on. The whole one, I think, in fact, was on camera. Jones scored a hat-trick in that game. Richards and Egan arrived. I just loved it. The match to remember apparently was a 1-1 draw at Swansea in the Carabao Cup. Was it a fascinating shootout or something? I don't know. I don't remember it being particularly great, but there you go. And then goal of the season was Leon Bullock saving us at home to Southend. The Carabao Cup taking centre stage on this screen, which I didn't expect, I've got to be honest. The big news, though, is here. This is why I talked about big positives. Our club reputation is up from 2-star to 2.5, and we all know how much of a difference that makes, and I even explain it here. This will help us to attract a higher calibre of player to the club, help us support a base grow, and greatly improve our commercial revenue. Now, our broadcast revenue has gone up 5-fold this year due to reaching a championship. Our sponsorship has trebled, our corporate and hospitality has doubled, our matchday and commercial and retail has gone up by nearly 100 grand. The shirt sales are massive. Jones, the new signing Stutter, Bullock, all among the top earners there. And maybe that is a worry with Bullock potentially forcing his way out this summer, but I'm really pleased with the progress. I'm not going to ask for a stadium this summer. I want to try and keep it as long as possible, because I want to get a stadium that's Premier League ready, that's top quality, and is when we've grown our fan base. As we were averaging 7,000 or 8,000 now, if we can start to maybe sell out Kenilworth Road for some league games, then we can ask for a stadium in Hemel that's maybe 15,000, 20,000, because realistically we're not going to get another one before the end of the save, and I want it to be a good one. So that's the thought process there. We'll put all of our money into the training facilities, the youth facilities, etc., because we have been building training, but we haven't been able to do it on the other side. So we'll look at that a bit more in a moment. In terms of the lineup for the best 11, it's close between Bullock and Doyle. It's probably quite close at centre-half between Doyle and, who was the other one? The experienced lad, Taylor. But the rest of it picks itself. There's no doubts about that whatsoever. I'd expect Camoy Richardson to come in next year as a centre midfielder. Maybe Alidor Hamilton feels a bit hard done by, but these three, when they play, they're just so good. And I'm really pleased with just how well they've adapted to this higher level. Let's go to the accolades. We have got Championship Manager of the Month twice. Probably won't decide Manager of the Year until after the playoffs. So I'd reckon we've got a chance, but I think we'll get outshone in the end. Ricky's hat-trick, most goals by a player in a match. I'm surprised he's not done that before. Hornby was the oldest player in the League Cup. Kamari Doyle, biggest transfer fee, total of 289,000. 11 assists for Reed, 21 goals for Ricky J. Jones. Scott Egan winning plenty of awards as well. And thank God we're keeping him for another year. Harry Thornley might well be rejecting us, but Egan is here to stay. So let's finish off the season review. We've got a lot of work to do here. We've got our initial budgets. We've got what looks like some good news on the front of Leon Bullock, who says he's happy to stay there. So let's go and check this one out. Happy to stay following a recent upturn in form. Our form has nosedived, mate. What are you on about? Either way, we won't complain. Overall best 11, Hamilton and Hazeman join in there. Who have we still got from the old guard? Carson and Dobson are the left wing. Cole Kopekwa, of course, is in. And David Gregory is the sub-keeper behind G-Cock now. But that bench, there's still a lot of those originals there. Nice to see a blend of the two, got to be honest. Let's look at the budget though, and then we're going to take a look at facilities. The budgets are, cross your fingers, oh, that's pretty good. Now, the wage budget hasn't really gone up, but we can adjust that if we need to. The transfer budget, nearly £3 million. And that sort of aligns with our strategy, doesn't it? Of signing younger players, developing them for a profit. And maybe that's the route we have to take now, because Greg Wilson certainly seems to be doing the same. Whether he puts us in transfer embargo so we can't use it, though, that could be a problem for later down the line. In terms of the club vision, we've got to fight bravely against relegation again. All they want us to do is keep staying in the Championship. I'm very happy with that. We'll do our end of season team meeting as well. I'm going to say we want to stay up. So I'm optimistic we can avoid relegation. Oh, they're not happy with that, so maybe I was being unfair. We'll back down, the players have to be on side. And we'll say thank you for everything, see you next year. That didn't go down well, did it? Who knows, you can't be optimistic in this game. The thing I want to focus on today though, before we have a look at the squad and what we're going to do for next season, is facilities. And it is linked with finances a little bit. Because we have been focusing, as we've moved up the leagues, entirely on improving the training facilities. So when we sign a young squad of players, we can develop them to the best possible level. The issue with that, of course, is that we're not bringing any quality through because our youth facilities and coaching and recruitment are still essentially what they were at the start. If I've got one area I can improve, I need the first team training facilities so we can improve the players we bring in. Because you can bring in 18, 19, 20-year-olds, as we've been doing throughout. What I do want to shift towards, though, as we move towards the second half or the second third of this save, is we're now an established Championship club, I hope, after next season. We're starting to get that money for the second year in a row. We're getting TV money. We had a big FA Cup tie, which was fortunate. And that means our finances are now 3.2 million. So what I want to work on doing for the next year is, as well as getting the training facilities, which I'm going to try and do immediately, is when we get the next TV revenue announcement, and of course, depending on who wins the playoffs, we might get a selection of the parachute payments, all of that. Then I want to focus on youth facilities, junior coaching, youth recruitment, because those things mean we can start to produce our own players. And even if they're not going to be players that come and play for Hemel Hempstead in a championship, if we can produce players that we can sell for 50, 100 grand to League 1, League 2 clubs with a sell-on fee, then we're doing our job. If it means we can bring in 17-year-olds like we did last summer on a free and put them in the 18 squad for a season, just give us that structure through the club, then it's worthwhile. We've got a very fortunate rent deal on the stadium, so I don't have to rush with that. We've got fabulous training facilities for the level, and they will continue to improve. But the difference for me is I want this lot to improve before that changes. And if we can keep spending the money on those things, the training, the youth recruitment, the junior coaching, then hopefully they'll hold off that a year or two and we'll get a bigger stadium that suits us towards the end of the save. I don't see us getting promoted to the Premier League next year, probably even the year after that. It will be 3 or 4 years in this division. Of course, you can have a lucky run and get the playoffs, but we're not going to go and storm the top 2. But in my opinion, I won't be wrong. But still, as a result of that, I want to make sure we've got everything up to scratch. We start to build the club into what we want it to be. And then maybe when we get that summer promoted to the Premier League, here you go, wallop. We're going to build a great whacking stadium in the middle of Hemel Hempstead. That's what I want. So hopefully it'll come off. But I just thought I'd show you my approach to building, because we've not really looked at this screen a huge amount in this save. I've just been quietly focusing on improving the training facilities and not really doing anything else. But I always get them up to a good level and then start to work on the youth side. Probably when we get to the Championship is the fair point to do so. But that is the plan for the next few years. The immediate problem, though, is what we're going to do this summer. If we go to our squad, we've got to decide what we're going to try and do this summer in the transfer window, where we're going to look to improve, what returning loanees are going to improve the squad, etc, etc. And this at the moment is the strongest squad we've got, and there are some clear problems. So as always, I'd love to get your opinion on it in the comments as we're going along, but for me, I'm looking at this summer as a sort of changing of the guard for the second half of the lower league players to championship squad players. I'm looking at potentially 1 or 2 big sales from players who want to leave, because Bullock might have ended one unhappiness, but he's still got another and won't sign a contract. And I'm looking at what areas can we step up to be real championship quality. And we immediately start in goal, because Zach Geacock's a good keeper. He's wanted by other clubs. If we get a big offer, 300-400 grand for him, then I'll take it. But at the moment, I'd like to keep him at the club. He's played 134 games for us, been involved in 2 promotions, only conceded 1 a game. And with all those problems we had after replacing David Gregory, in Geacock we've finally got our second coming of him at the higher level. So I'd like to keep him at the club. Grashik, another solid player behind that. The ideal is we'll have those 2 and then a first choice ahead of them. In defence, I've lined up what I think is my best 4, and obviously the bench too. There's an immediate problem at left back. I've changed the contract so you can see where the issues are. At left back, Thornhill's loan ends. They want 1.7 million for him. He's not worth that. He's not better than Armin. So the back 4 virtually picks itself. Of course, we'll keep trying to keep Thornley, and if it works, happy days, he'll be involved in the back 4. If not, I don't think we need to improve the bench so much. I'm almost looking at it and saying, could we perhaps sell Brandon Bryan Moore, who's versatile, but he's one of those who isn't really stepping up to championship level. He's a League One player very clearly, and he didn't do great when he was in the side. You've also got Josh Berry coming back, who's now similar ability. You've got Bilal Jesus Garcia coming back, who's similar ability, albeit needs a new contract before then. And of course, Max Taylor is that experienced linchpin that's going to be involved at centre-half anyway. Alby Armin will need support at left-back, there's no doubt about that. And the right-back issue, I don't really know what's going to happen. When we send McDonough back to Nottingham Forest, are they going to transfer list him? Because then there's an opportunity. Mateus, on paper, is a fabulous player, but I don't know if he's adapted yet. He hasn't fully learnt the language. Is that going to take a bit more time? And Bennett Sharif, who has improved no end this year, is ready to be first choice, but he wants to go. He's got 1 year left on his contract, and while he's willing to discuss a new deal, his value is 1.3 million, and he'll only discuss it with us, if we go through, if he can have a 900 grand sell-on clause, and that can only be negotiated up to 1.1. So I'd probably rather sell him this summer and make 2 or 3 times the money, if I'm being brutally honest, because with sell-ons and that, I reckon I could get 2.5 million. And that's where these saves become difficult, because you want to try and keep your star players, but we've got to be realistic. We can't turn down that money. It pays for a stand of a stadium later down the line. The good news is that Egan are staying in midfield. We've got Sol Alidor Hamilton, who's still improving. Camoy Richardson is fully back now. Had his injury problems the end of last season. Came back about October, had those little muscle knocks, whatever else. He's now starting to look like the superstar. He's tied down for 3 more years. We got him that big long contract while he was injured. And we're reaping the rewards, because he's going to be worth mega money in the next couple of years. We have also got strength in depth in midfield in those defensive roles, because Callon Hazeman is brilliant. Jason Ferris will go out on loan, but Arthur Reed, solid as you like to. Kamari Doyle's a good number 10 and may well have to come into the team next season, because Leon Bullock is another one who is improving after getting back from injury, but now wants to force his way out. Got 1 year left, wants a deal to reflect his ability. If we go and have a look at what he wants to be guaranteed that he can be sold. He wants bigger money than anyone else at the club. And while, yes, that's fantastic, he's probably earned it on the balance of play, we don't want to break our whole wage structure for one player. And if Leon Bullock can be sold for 2, 3, 4 million, we've probably got our best value for him. If he goes somewhere else and has a sell-on clause and develops more, we might get another million later down the line. It's a very difficult decision, but we probably have to let people like that go. The issue I have is up front, because Ronnie Stutter's coming in January, and he's flattered to deceive a bit, but he is a good striker. He's championship level. Ricky J. Jones, we know he scores goals for fun. He scored 69 in 121 for us, but he keeps getting injured. The last couple of seasons, we've had real problems with him. We had a few when he was in League 2, a couple of 3-week ones. Last season, we had lots of little ones, but nothing major. And in this season, just loads of them. Look at 2029, we're 5 months into it. 3 days, 6 days, 3 weeks, 7 days, and now he's got another 6-week one. I'm a little bit concerned, I'm not going to lie to you. The first season was fantastic. The second season was so-so. This season is becoming a big problem, particularly the second half of it. Is he one of those strikers who now he's reaching the second half of his 20s? Maybe is just starting to fall apart. We've seen it with plenty of those running behind types before. So we're going to keep a very close eye on him. But I don't think I can bring myself to sell him unless Huddersfield come in with silly money. We've agreed to sign Rodell Richards, so that's going to give us a little bit of strength in depth up front. Javan Malcolm, someone I've always been happy to sell, but the interest has dried up in recent years. And Stuart Parry is coming back from his loan, but I'm not sure he's ever going to make it now. So given that we signed him for 16 grand, I will probably look, can we get caught at $500,000 with a sell-on clause? It could be a great deal for the club. So that's where we are at the moment. Of course, I'd love to keep Thornley. I'd love to add to the squad in a few positions. For me, I'm looking at goalkeeper. I'm looking at left back for sure. Right back if Bennett Sharif decides to force his way out. Number 10 if Leon Bullock forces his way out. And potentially one more in midfield just to make us a real standout side. And so Jason Ferris can go out on loan. We have got to remember though that there are also some loan players from those we signed last summer. The likes of Daniel Senior at Yeovil, who could be a backup left-back option. If we can't find a brilliant player to overtake Armin, why not just give him 10 games in the season? Yes, we're not going to get promoted, but we should be safe from relegation, and it would be a great improvement for him. We've got the likes of Worsfold, who was at Sutton, not improved enough for my liking. The same for Chijoke Mohammed, not improved enough for my liking. Adam Wade at Yeovil, maybe needs a season now in League 1 or 2 rather than the National League. But it's certainly on the right path. So I think we are still going to need 4 or 5 players. There's a couple in the scout reports that look exciting. I can't wait to see if they come in. But that'll all be for the next episode. Hopefully it's not ruined by our chairman who has been looking to sell the club. It now says he's enjoying his role again, but he's so unpredictable. If you did enjoy this season review, please do put a thumbs up on the video. Let me know in the comments your opinion on what I've said, particularly in terms of the squad for the summer. Subscribe down below for daily FM22 content from 2 long-term stories. We'll be back in 2 days' time with a transfer special and with our first game of the second season in the Championship. We'll then have transfer deadline day a couple of days later. So a massive week to come in this save. The head coach will return tomorrow. You don't want to miss that one for sure. It's going to be a blockbuster week over here. There's links in the eye above to that series and of course the FM Insight playlist with all of the tips and tutorials. And finally, you can see the football podcast and the Twitch channel for regular live streams up there too. You should be able to find that playlist with all the guides just above my head right now. But thank you for following along for another season. I'll see you in a couple of days for a big transfer special.